Hello and welcome to my channel to Plan Form. Today I want to talk about how you can safely and stress-free travel with your fountain pens. Because traveling with your fountain pens is easier than many people think. So in this video, I want to explain what you should consider when choosing your pens and inks, what kind of accessory makes sense to take with you, and also what to keep in mind when you are flying. When it comes to deciding what fountain pens and inks you should bring with you, always start by considering what kind of trip you're taking. How long will the trip be and what type of trip is it going to be? Is it a business trip for 3 days or are you going on a 2-week long hike? Also consider how much riding do you realistically expect to do. Another thing to consider is the place you are going. Are there stationery stores in case you run out of something or you forgot something? So how do you actually choose the right fountain pen for your trip? I would always advise to go with a reliable pen you have used before, and maybe not your most precious, beloved grail pen or a very sentimental piece. I don't know, the fountain pen you inherited from your grandmother. Bring something with you are not really too precious about. For me personally, my Lamy All-Star is always a good option because it's a very reliable pen. I've been using Lamy Safari or All-Star for a very, very long time. I know how they work. And here in Europe, there are rather cheap pens. So I wouldn't be devastated if I scratch the pen, if I lose it, things like that. So it's a very good pen to take with me. I have no worries if I just throw it into my backpack. This is a pen that has traveled with me to Japan, to Korea, and this pen has been at least in 10 European countries, so it's a well-traveled pen. Another aspect why I do like to travel with my Lamy Safari is because it's a cartridge converter. This means it is super easy to take extra ink with you. You can just take a couple of cartridges and you certainly have enough ink for your trip. If you prefer to use some kind of ink that is not available in cartridges, you can, of course, bring a little ink bottle with you. And it's very easy to fill your fountain pen from whatever kind of ink bottle you bring with you. Of course, this is just an example. There are other good pens for traveling, but for me, this is just my go-to pen if I travel. Another pen which I quite frequently take with me on my trips is this Pilot Capless, simply because it is my fountain pen I use for work, and I travel for work quite frequently. So, of course, I bring my work fountain pen with me. The best thing you can do is really fill your pens before your trip. And if you know it will be a shorter trip, a shorter vacation, maybe you don't even need to bring additional ink with you. So to sum it up, I would take a sturdy, reliable pen you have used for a while and which is not too expensive with you. That's a good choice for a travel pen. Now let's talk about ink. I think there are also a few things worth considering when it comes to choosing the right ink. Most of my journaling happens at home, where I can control the environment a bit better than on a vacation. So let's say you're going on a sailing trip. Well, it might be a good idea to take a waterproof ink with you because I guess I've never been on a sailing trip, but I guess it's more likely to get water on your paper. Or you plan to have a travel journal which you want to hand on maybe to your kids, to the next generation, and therefore you want to have some kind of document ink that stands the test of time. So all those things are worth considering. Choose an ink that is low maintenance. Maybe not the most shimmer heavy ink. So after you have considered the duration of your trip and how much you realistically will be writing, you say, okay, I need additional ink. Perfect. We have now established, okay, we want to bring more ink, but how do I get the ink into my pen? I'm always coming back to my Lamy All-Star. This pen is super, super easy to fill. You can just stick the nib in the bottle, turn the converter, and just ink it up. Super easy. You could also just take the converter. It's not empty, so I have to be careful. And put it in a bottle. If the bottle is not big enough for the pen, or the opening of the bottle is not big enough of the pen. So those are all options. After you have carefully considered your kind of vacation, the duration, you know you want to bring additional ink on your trip. How do you bring the ink with you? As we already had mentioned, cartridges are the easiest option, but if you want to go with a specific ink, which might not be available in a cartridge, or you chose a pen that is not a cartridge converter pen, then you still have the option to bring ink in a little ink bottle. So here I do have a few examples. The easiest thing is to take one of those sample vials, fill it up, just close it carefully, and you have enough ink for your trip. It's plastic, so you don't have to worry too much, and they usually seal pretty well. Some inks also already come in tiny little bottles. This is an ink from the Inkvent 2025. Actually, this bottle has been with me in Korea. The ink in here is Antler, which is a brown waterproof ink, another good option. Some other inks also come in small bottles. This is a small bottle from Germain, Poussière de Lune. This bottle is glass, so you need to be a bit more careful with this one, but they actually don't break that easily. I mean, of course, yeah, it's glass, so you have to pay some attention, but usually in your suitcase, under some clothes, you should be fine. Anyway, I still would advise you to put your ink bottles in a little plastic bag, which you can close here. And if for whatever reason the bottle leaks, you're on the safe side. So it's not the first thing when you arrive at your destination, you open your suitcase and you see, oh, I don't have anything to wear for the next 3 weeks because everything is full of my waterproof black ink. Colorverse also sells ink in really small bottles. This one is a 5 ml bottle from, as I said, Colorverse. And they are also handy to travel with, but disadvantage of them is that the opening is very, very small. So you would need some kind of additional tool to actually get your ink into the converter, or if you want to refill a cartridge. For that, also travel-friendly tools exist. You can either take a little syringe with you, or this is kind of an ink refill syringe, something like that, just to soak up the ink and put it into your converter. That's certainly something worth considering if you take a bottle with you that has a very small opening. Another option to bring additional ink with you, if you don't want to use pre-filled cartridges, you can also make your or make your own cartridges. These are cartridges with a little lid on them that seals tightly. So you could just maybe fill at home 2 additional cartridges or homemade cartridges, put them in a little plastic bag like this, and you're safe to go. You don't have to bring a bottle with you. I think that's also a very nice option if you are very specific when it comes to your ink decision. I already mentioned it is a good idea to take low maintenance ink for your trip, because if you take ink that requires a lot of maintenance, like cleaning your pen very frequently, you also will have to bring some kind of cleaning tool with you. If you still decide to do that, I think that the easiest way is to take one of those syringes. So let's talk about flying with your fountain pens. So let's talk about flying with your fountain pens. So let's talk about flying with your fountain pen. So let's talk about flying with your fountain pens. The big concern in this context is that your pen might leak. And that's certainly possible, though with modern fountain pens, it's not really a common issue. Why do fountain pens even leak? So when you fly, the air pressure changes and the air within your pen might expand and push the ink through the feed, and then your pen leaks. First tip is here to either take a completely filled pen or a pen that is empty. Pens that are very well suited for traveling are those that have a shut-off valve, like the Pilot Custom 823. Cartridge converter pens are also very good for traveling. So to sum it up, the safest thing, of course, to do is to take a completely empty pen with you and fill it once you arrive at the destination. The next best thing to do is take a completely filled pen with you or a pen with a shut-off valve. Then you're also on the safe side. And maybe consider how you store your pen in your bag. Nip up and be careful when you open the lid for the first time after landing. I like to take my Lockbee pen pouch with me. It's a very compact way to store your pens, and it still gives you some extra room for additional things. So that would be a setup for me for a business trip. I bring my completely filled Pilot capless with me, my Lamy All-Star. I always like to bring a spare pen just in case. And depending on the duration of the trip, I would bring additional ink, maybe just one cartridge for my Pilot and one cartridge for my Lamy, or a self-filled cartridge for my Pilot pen, and maybe one ink sample in here, and it would be good to go. One more thing to mention: if you keep your ink within your carry-on bag, just put the ink in this little plastic bag with your other liquids. Finally, one last tip, which I think is sometimes underestimated if you don't travel quite frequently. Try your setup at home, meaning try your pens. Do I like the pen and ink combination? Does it work for me? Does it work on the journal I'm planning to take with me, or does it bleed through? And if you're planning to take additional ink with you, try to fill your fountain pen the same way you're planning to do it on a trip. So let me sum up everything I talked about today. First, really consider what kind of trip you're taking and how long it's going to be. Keep it simple, don't take too much with you. If you're flying, consider the few things I mentioned that keep your pen from leaking while you're on the plane. Test everything before you go on vacation, and once you're on your trip, don't forget to write. Have a nice day. See you. Bye.